for the most part, I put them all at the same level. I challenge them to do new things, something that they haven't done before. And even if they have done it before, then it's challenging them to take another look at it, or I'll change up the activity a little bit so that it's not the exact same outcome that they're looking for. And by doing that, I feel it really sets the tone for the rest of the year, for me anyway, where it's, okay, so this is what you have, and now this is something brand new that you tried and you were successful at it. How about try something, being willing to try something else, and taking that risk to fail. And I believe it was, I can't remember who it was, but someone posted up like a meme that basically says like fail, and failure just means frequent attempts in learning. And so I use that right from the get-go with my kids. And so I tell them, look, I want you to fail. If you're not failing, you're not learning. And so I tell them the same thing. I don't even know everything. So be willing to fail, take that risk, take that chance. And once you do that, then for me, the rest of the year is pretty easy. Because then it's like, okay, well, I know I'm not that good at it. I never tried it before, but I'm going to give it a try. And, you know, whether I'm successful or not, we'll see what happens.
So taking a chance, that's a good, simple definitions that I think kids can understand. Taking a chance. What do you think, Matthew?
Yeah, I think it's taking risks. For me, I wonder how much a teacher needs to do the same thing. Probably thinking back to my college years, I never would have thought about teaching gymnastics to students. It wasn't something I ever grew up with or was comfortable with. But with learning a lot of the programs with school, with my teacher, I was able to figure out how to do it and successfully make it work. And, you know, watching my students just trying to take a chance in class with gymnastics has been amazing for me. It's probably one of my favorite units because you see those kids who are very closed off at the beginning of a unit, and by the end of the unit, when they light up because they're able to do something for the first time, is pretty cool.
Yeah, I have to agree with that. I mean, as a PE teacher, as a classically trained PE teacher, I don't know about you two, but for me, I had to take dance classes. And one of the expectations is that we teach dance to our students in our Gen Ed PE programs. And I know for a fact that many of us out there don't teach dance because it is something that we are scared of. We're afraid that we won't do it well. We're afraid we'll do it wrong. There's all other kinds of reasons why people are afraid of teaching dance. I don't think of myself as a dancer, but I still spend my time teaching my students dance. And my favorite thing is when they see me struggling with the dance moves themselves right alongside of them, and I'm supposed to be the teacher, it really lowers their anxiety level about them having to learn the dance as well. And so when they see me struggling and right alongside them, and they're like, okay, well, how about try this, try that? They take the opportunities like, you know what? Hey, Mr. Tran learned how to do this. He was just as bad as I was 2 days ago. Why is he better than me today? And so they'll try harder, and they'll put that work into it. And they'll take that risk of looking the fool in front of everybody, but they take that risk and they do it.
Yeah, that's good. Something that I used to think that I had to be perfect in front of the kids, and I couldn't have a mistake because I had to teach them how to do everything perfectly. And it was a false thing on my part. One thing that I've done this last year to take risk is I work with 2 other colleagues, and we do an instant activity at the beginning of every class period. It's pretty much the same thing. The students can do just dance videos, or they can hula hoop, or they can walk around the gym, or they can jump rope. They kind of get to choose. And for the longest time, I wouldn't do the just dance videos, and I would just sit there. I would take attendance, do all the administrative stuff while they're being active, and then I was like, well, I'm done taking attendance. Maybe I should just try the just dance. And I like I don't consider myself a great dancer, but I like to move. So I got out there, I started dancing, and it actually drew more kids in to the Just Dance from the other ones, whether they were walking or hula hooping or jump roping. And so it was kind of fun to see those kids who were not into the Just Dance see me do it and not do it very well and come over and join in.
Yeah, it's all about getting them to understand that we're learners. We're lifelong learners. And regardless of how good you are or how bad you are, you get out there and you keep doing it, you're going to get better at it. Because you're going to learn the mistakes that you made. You're going to learn the things that you didn't do right or you didn't do well. And like for me, like I said, I'm not a dancer, but I will get up there with Just Dance and I'll do it with them. I had a kid literally ask me last year, it's like, Mr. Tran, I want to do this dance move for my dance routine, but I don't know how to do it. So I'm sitting here looking at they basically pulled up like a professional dancer's video. It's like, can you break this down for me so I can do it? I'm like, I can't do it right now, but I'll tell you what, I will have it for you the next time I see you. And so I went home and I basically just watched the video and practice. So at least I got something that looked like it. It wasn't perfect, but it looked like it. And the kids appreciated it. They appreciate when they see you not be the master of everything and they see you struggling. They're willing to struggle more, take that risk and start practicing themselves.
Yeah, it's something similar happened last year. I was doing all those videos for Tinkling dance steps that I didn't know. And there was one that I just happened to find. And I had some kids that blew through what I had prepared for them really quickly, like 2 days worth. And I'm like, well, here you go. And I showed them my phone. And I'm just like, I have no idea how to do this. I can't figure out the footwork. It hasn't clicked with me yet. So go for it. And they were able to figure it out. And when they broke it down and started doing it super slow, I all of a sudden went, now I can get it. And I could figure it out. It was actually pretty cool. It was one of those things where, I kind of prepared the lesson for them, but they kind of figured it out a lot quicker than I did. And I was just like, all right, now you taught me something. Cool.
Yeah.
And they were probably pretty proud of themselves to be able to teach the teacher something.
Yeah.
So let's go to the beginning of our upcoming school year. How are you going to introduce risk-taking to your students?
I love that acronym FAIL, frequent attempts on learning. And I think that's just something that, I probably need to in the first week come up with a way to talk to them about that and say, hey, it's okay to mess up, but I need you to kind of push through it and learn and grow from it. Try not to make the same mistake over and over and over again. And just keep working at it, keep trying. You're going to have, even if you're great at something, you're going to have a bad day occasionally. Just kind of get them used to it and keep pushing forward.
Now, this past year, we had a big school-wide talk about trying hardest and failure and things like that. And our principal had found a YouTube video with a commentator or a narrator talking about Michael Jordan. And we all know, arguably, Michael Jordan is probably the greatest basketball player of our time, maybe of even all time. But nobody ever talks about all of his failures. Everybody talks about how awesome of a player he was, how many shots he made, how many game-winning points and shots that he made, how many championships he won. But nobody ever talks about all the game-winning plays that he missed. No one talks about all the baskets he missed. No one talks about all the coaching that he got behind the scenes that we don't see on the day-to-day. So that might be something that you could do, because I know there's memes out there and there's videos talking about it. There was even a video that talked about his baseball career, and we all know how awesome his baseball career was. But regardless of what fans said, critics said, he still went out and he still played. And from beginning of the season to end of the season, he still got better. So he refused to listen to people who were basically just going to talk down to him the entire time, tell him not to do it. And he went on his own and he practiced and he tried and eventually he did get better. Still wasn't MLB caliber in my opinion, but still he got better. So that might be something that you could do in a way to teach that whole acronym of FAIL. For me, I'm pretty much going to do, so this year for me is a little different. I'm not teaching PE next year, this coming year. I'm teaching Intro to Kines, and I'm teaching a section of martial arts. So in a sense, it's still physical education because I'm still teaching them about how the body moves and things like that. But with the martial arts class, I'm going to be teaching all of that through martial arts. And then through the Intro to Kines class, I'm going to be teaching all of that through the science aspect. So for me, I'm trying to come up with a lot of different lab activities that we can do in the Intro to Kines class, where they're still getting at least 50% MVPA in my class. I don't want them to just be sitting down and reading the whole time, because that's not what I'm about. So I'm trying to figure out how to do that right now. I'm not sure how I'm going to do that yet. And school starts in less than a month for me.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we start early.
So I was reading an article about risk, and this teacher, it was a classroom teacher, and what they did is they brought their guitar to school and played their guitar and sang for their class. And so I play guitar, but I don't sing very well. So I was thinking, well, that would be really risky for me. I'm fine with playing the guitar, but singing, it's not the greatest. So I mean, that might be a good way that I can show them that I'm willing to take a risk. Even though it's not music class, I'm showing you I'm willing to put myself out there in front of you that I wouldn't normally do, and see if that helps break down the risk, the fear of taking a risk. I also saw another article where a teacher brought a basketball to class and was working on ball handling skills in front of the students. They started out slow and eventually got faster and faster and faster, and they kept on going until they messed up. And then the kids saw that the teacher messed up. And so, but they said, well, if I keep on practicing, hopefully I could get better and better and better. And that's kind of what I want you all to do. I want you all not to be afraid to try something new or try something old in a new way, and maybe not do well at it right now, but work on getting better at it.
Yeah.
And so I was trying to think up something that very risky for me that I could do in front of the kids the first week or two of school to help enforce that.
Yeah, for my kindergarten students, a lot of them, I'm not good at it, I want to quit, that mentality that comes out with kids sometimes. I usually pull out a hula hoop within the first week or two of my classes with my kindergartners, and I show them how bad I am. I've been trying to work on how to hula hoop around my waist for how many years have I been teaching? I can keep it up for 5 seconds if I'm having a good day. And so it's really cool. But what I'm able to do is kind of then switch it up, and I can show them how to hula hoop around your arm for like 2 minutes straight without a problem. It's like, well, each one of us are going to have easy time at certain things, and I'm still going to challenge you, and some of you are going to have hard times with things, and you're going to have to do like I do with the hula hoop around my waist. You have to pick it up a lot more often, and you just keep going. So yeah,
that's a great analogy. I was going to say, for you, Eric, if you can't think of something, the first thing that came to my head was a handstand. I don't know how good you are at handstands, right? But I'm terrible at it.
I can only hold one for about 4 or 5 seconds.
Oh, that's still better than me, But having the kids see you struggling with it, and not just like a gymnast would hop straight up and hold it, whereas like for me, I would have to up, down, up, and then I'd say, I got it, and then I'm back out. So that might be something that they can see you struggling with as well. I had a great friend and a professor of mine when I was going through my undergrad. He said the greatest thing, and I've ever since then I've always kept it to heart and held it close to my heart whenever I've been teaching. And it's, you don't have to be a master at everything. You don't have to be perfect at everything. You don't even have to know everything. You just need to know more than the people you're teaching. And
Right.
so if you're teaching whatever it is you're planning on teaching them, you just need to know that much more than them. And if they happen to catch up to you, Matt, I do exactly like you. I go, you know what, guys, you've reached, like, I planned up to here, you're here now. So this is what we're going to do. We're going to give you something that's completely out of lesson. If it's a new skill, new technique, new whatever it is, take a moment, try it out. Maybe you can come and teach me something about it afterwards. And so not having to be the sage on the stage all the time, I think it's really helpful, especially at the secondary level. At the elementary level, Matt, I'm not saying that you have it easy, but and I'm not going to say right now that you have it easy, because I taught there too, and it's not easy. But oftentimes we have kids who can help each other, and at that level, kids tend to want to do more. Even the most shyest kid. But I've learned that secondary, it's tends to be more difficult, because by the time they get to myself and Eric, they've already had years of people telling them they can't, don't. And it's not just the teachers that are telling them that, but it's their own friends that are telling them that. Whereas at the younger levels, I can pull one kid off who's doing horribly and encourage the crap out of them. And all of a sudden they're going to go, oh, I love it, and I'm going to go do it, and I don't care what my friends say, because now I can do it. Whereas at the older level, I had a kid tell me, I don't like PE. I don't want to do push-ups. I don't want to do any exercise. It took me an entire year to get to this student, and I finally got out of them. They said, I don't like it because my teacher basically told me when I was in 6th grade that I should just quit and stop and don't try and don't do anything. And it was that one teacher who impacted the student 3 years later in my class. And it took me an entire year to just get that out of the student and try to work with them to overcome that with the last 2 weeks of school. So, taking a risk, it's good that we build it in there, but we also have to make sure that we're building in opportunities for success, however small that success is. I think that's very important.
All right. So you said something about building in risk-taking. How are you all going to build in risk-taking into your lesson plans? And is there going to be a risk every lesson plan, or just occasionally when you think they need it? How's that going to work for you?
I don't know, Matt, you want to go first?
Yeah, I think building a risk is a really good thing. I probably should be doing it every class period with every single one of my students. The reality is I don't think I do it, and I probably don't consciously think about it enough. What David was just saying is probably we have, 10, 20, maybe even higher percentage of our students who just don't want to try because of past experiences. So we need to teach them that it's okay to fail and to take risks, and that eventually the hard work will pay off. I think also with the top 10%, the kids that, oh yeah, Mr. Bassett, I don't want to practice because I'm just too good kind of mentality. We've got to find ways to challenge them, take risks. That's where kind of some of the stuff that I've been doing is, I know I don't really have a full-on solo taxonomy, but I kind of like the concept of it. There's a series of activities, and you could eventually create so many that there's no normal person in the world that will ever be able to get through all of them in a unit or a sequence of lessons, just so that you can continue to challenge them and get them stronger and faster. And, not a huge Kobe Bryant fan, but love the mentality of the guy. Love hearing those stories of, him texting the trainer on Team USA at 4 a.m. saying, can you come down here? And the guy showed up 45 minutes later, and Kobe was drenched in sweat already. Worked for 2 hours with the guy and stuck around later. I wish that those 10% of my kids at the top of the class would understand that just because you're at the top of the class doesn't mean you should stop working. And that's, to me, really hard. Yeah. I think there's a mentality. The key word that's coming out lately was the grit word, teaching their kids grit. And I think that that's something that's even more challenging than any academic subject, is teaching them not to give up, to keep striving. And I think the three of us are good examples of being lifelong learners and not giving up. And once we get to the dead end in something, we go off on a different tangent to figure out something new.
Mm-hmm.
Something I never would have guessed of myself when I was in middle school or below.
Oh, you're awesome. What are you talking about? I want to be like you when I grow up. So thinking about how I'm going to build more risk-taking into my class or into my lessons is I'm definitely going to take whatever skill or whatever it is I'm teaching that by the end of the period, I'm going to say, this is where I want my students to be and how do I get them there? So like you said, Matt, building off of solo taxonomy, I started using it second semester a lot more than in first semester because I was out maternity leave and all that. But building it in for the students and giving them a clear path as to by the end, this is where you should be. You know, this is the end goal. And then building in those smaller incremental steps, those scaffolds for them by the end, and telling them, look, it's not about you reaching that end point. It's about seeing how far did you get. You know, you started, you know, maybe there are 20 steps, but you started at step number 10, and by the end of the unit or end of the lesson or whatever, you went up to step 13, right? Whereas someone else who, when they started, was at step 1, and by the time they finished, they were at step 5. You know, it's not about where you finished, it's about where did you go, how hard did you push yourself to go beyond where you were. So that's kind of like the flow that I'm trying to build into my lessons, especially my martial arts class this coming year, because I'm just thinking like, okay, I'm not teaching one martial art the entire year. I'm actually going to break it up and do like an exploratory class and teach a variety of things. But then after, it'll be like, okay, by the end, these are the skills that I would like you to know. Here are the basic skills that everyone will need to know. And then these are the advanced skills. And I want everyone to try them. You don't have to master them, but I want you to try them. And then I saw, I think it was Carrie. She had gone to, I want to say Shape. It was some conference that Carrie, I think Bulls or Bullis, I can't remember her name. She did a session over there where the instructor was giving out like colored belts, like martial arts style. You know, the belts didn't really weren't corresponding to the actual things that they needed to do, but it kind of gave the students something to push towards. So it's like, okay, by the end of this unit, to be a black belt, you need to be able to do ba 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 ba. You know, to be a blue belt, you need to be ba 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 ba. So doing all these things, building it into my martial arts unit or class, excuse me, I think is the way I'm going to be building in that risk. I've seen it done at the college level also, so I'm not afraid of doing it. I'm going to enjoy doing it. And I think she just actually joined us. I think Mary is here now. I might be wrong. How about yourself, Eric? What are you going to do?
Let's see. Well, I think one thing that's going to help me is I've done this in the past, but I want to do it again this year. So I'm going to do a combo TGFU sport ed model for most of my units. And I think the part that's really going to challenge the kids and put them in to take on more risk is the sport ed part of it, putting them in different roles. And so whenever it's their turn to be the team captain, they might not be comfortable being the team captain yet. And so having them step out into a role that they're not quite comfortable with, and pushing them up just a little bit, and always knowing that I'm there for a resource, or they can use the other team, the past team captains as resources to give them support and help when they need it. I think that's one way I'm going to hopefully be able to push my kids into being a little bit better risk takers, just through the teaching model itself.
Yeah, David, one of the things I'm in the Voxer Ed Camp that's going on right now and learning about Seesaw. That's a pretty cool little program that might be helpful, but also maybe starting to develop badges instead. You can make it electronic instead of something physical. I'm starting to wonder if I can do that for certain classes and how I'm going to do that and what will be good. The Seesaw thing, I think, is going to make it pretty easy because I can load one picture and attach it to as many people as I need to. So,
yeah, I've looked at Seesaw. It's more labor intensive than I need it, because of where we're at and the students I have and things like that. However, I am looking at doing badges. I did go online and find some like different martial arts belts and things like that, and something that corresponds to the different martial arts that I'm going to be teaching this year. And so I'm going to come up with like I said, the tiered, like these are the things that you need to know and demonstrate, and then you can get this badge. And so Carrie had actually done this thing where her students convinced her to get like, I think it was like ribbon or cloth or something that each color represented that different belt color, and so then they wear those ribbons on their arms as like a physical badge in their class. And so I thought that was kind of cool. So I know a lot of guys and gals who used to do martial arts, so I'm going to see if they can donate their old belts, and maybe I can do belts that way. Or maybe I can find some money and buy some belts. Who knows? We'll see.
Right. Material to wrap around their arm probably wouldn't be too expensive either.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. I mean, I can go to, Joann's or whatever it is, and just buy like a yard of whatever and do it that way.
Yeah.
So that's something that I'm going to do this coming year. Build in like, I saw, a professor of mine when we were doing gymnastics. I never took gymnastics, but when he was doing gymnastics, he posted up on his wall like conditioning levels. So he had like, I want to say it was like 5 different conditioning levels that they did in gymnastics. And so he had white, yellow, pink, burgundy. I don't know. He chose like really interesting colors for his levels. And like his highest level was like, do the rope climb 3 times with no feet up and down. I was like, okay, I'm not gonna get there. I won't be there, but I can do elements of the different things in there. And so, again, going back to that whole thing about taking risk, it's the students taking risk and possibly failing and not being able to attain that level, but still being able to do elements of that level. And so feeling that level of success.
Right. So we've said the word fail a couple times. How do we teach our kids that failing is okay, that failing in a lesson or failing in a unit doesn't mean that they're going to fail the class?
I can show them my transcripts. I mean, I'm a PE teacher. I took anatomy, physiology. It was anatomy, physiology A and B, and I took A 3 times and I took B 3 times. Each time I failed once, I got a D the second time, and then I finally passed with like a B or a C the 3rd time. So, that right there is one example. And I tell my students that all the time. I'm not the best student in the world. I have to work very hard at what I know. And so when they come in and they try and they're trying to work, I tell them, you have to work hard and you have to constantly be willing to fail. Because if you don't fail, you don't learn. Winners don't learn anything.
Right.
I like to use baseball analogy because that's probably my favorite sport. If you think about the history of baseball, the best single season hitter ever was successful about 40% of the time. Mm-hmm. That means that they were unsuccessful 60% of the time, and people don't realize that. So when you see that there's a ratio like that, it kind of can help some students relax a little bit and understand, hey, it's okay to mess up and to keep going. Mm-hmm. So that's one of the things that I try to talk about a lot is just, hey, you messed up, no big deal, keep going. You might need to work a little harder to get back to where you want to be, but you can still get there.
Yeah,
so.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
How do we grade or assess when there is a failure? Do we give them, how many multiple opportunities do we give them to pass? Is it never ending, or do we give them 3 tries to pass, and then if they finally can't pass, we just mark them as like a 2 on a 4-point rubric? How do we do that?
Now you're entering different waters here, because
That's
for
true.
me, assessment is about gauging how the student is doing at a particular moment in time. That's what an assessment does, and that's what grades look like. So for me, I will allow a student for as long as they want to keep trying and come back and show me progress. They can reassess as much as they want. They can reassess as many times as they want. But they have to show me that they're making progress. You can't just, I had a student who didn't do very well on the dance, in my dance unit. And so they came in and said, Mr. Tran, I would like to reassess. I'm like, sure. What have you been doing so that you can either show me or indicate to me that you've gotten better than what you did before? Well, I went at home and I was practicing at home and this and that, and I rewatched, the instructional videos, and I'm like, okay, cool. They did the thing. It wasn't any better. They forgot, they were fumbling, this and that. Eventually, the student just emailed me and said, Mr. Tran, I need your help. I need you to physically help me. I can't do this on my own. That, again, is showing me that the student is showing growth and wants to grow. And so they came in one day. We did like a 1-day after school intensive for, I think, an hour. I only worked with them for 30 minutes. And after I worked with them, this is a student who, in my class, my regular gen ed class, won't do anything. Spend a lot of time staring at the videos, or staring at me demonstrating, or staring at other students doing work, but physically will not get up and do it themselves. That day where I gave them that one-on-one tutoring, they went through their dance and they were like, oh, I made a mistake here, can I start over? Themselves. Not me telling them they made a mistake. They made the mistake themselves, and they wanted to retry. And they did this for about 15 minutes out of our 1-hour session. Just, nope, I did that wrong. Let me go back and look at that again. Let me go do it. And for this particular student, they are very risk averse. They don't want anyone telling them that they can't do something or making fun of them or this and that. And so when I put them in a situation where they were by themselves, they were able to grow. And that carried over into the regular class as well. Because now I knew this student had the drive, was willing to fail and learn from those failing and learn from those mistakes and got better. And I just used it against them. I went to all their teachers. I said, look, this is what the student, and they were like, wait, are you sure? This student, this one right here. I go, yes, this student right here. And so then by then, all the teachers knew that the student had the capacity to do the work. They just needed to be pushed to do the work and given the opportunity to continue to do the work. And sometimes they needed a little hand-holding. And so they were able to get up. And I think it was failing something like 3 or 4 classes. And by the end of the year, we're able to get in and make, I want to say not failing. I don't know if they got A's and everything, but they definitely were not failing anymore. And it had to do with the point, because we didn't say, oh, well, you failed 3 times, now that's going to be your grade. It's about the determination that you make. And honestly, if we're going to be telling them that you learn from failing and from making mistakes, we have to reflect that in how we treat them as well. If we're going to tell them that you failed 3 times, that's what's your grade going to be. That tells them that no matter how hard they try, they're going to if they only do it 3 times, they're going to fail. And so if that's the case, we need to flip it around and give them the opportunities that they want and they need. So I think that's important. Oh, right. I think Carrie's trying to get it.
Yeah, she is. Well, the reason I went that way with it is because I think it's important when we talk about risk and failure that the kids know up front that you can have more than one opportunity. And if they think it's a one and done deal, they might not try at all. And so that was my reason for asking that question and kind of going that way, because I was just wondering if I was in the same ballpark as you all are as far as giving multiple tries until they can succeed or the school year's over.
Yeah, I try to give multiple tries if they want it. I think that I have a really hard time because I want kids to be kind of proactive in what they're doing. And I have kids that after an assessment are like, oh, well, I did really badly. And then, 8, 9, 10 weeks later, when grade is coming due and it's time for them to get their act together, all of a sudden it's really important for them to come back and ask me to retake it. And usually kind of play tough with them. And if I do let them retake it, I usually lay out a really big guilt trip. This wasn't important. Why is it important now? But I'm definitely one of those people that if you come right in and say, hey, I kind of blew it, this is what I'm doing to help. We've had things at school float around of an intent to retake paper that they have to fill out and basically prove to me that they're ready for it. I'm okay with that. I want to gauge learning. We all have those bad days and the things that happen. Yeah. So I'm not a big deal. It's those kids that it's only important at the end of the term that all of a sudden it's all the things that they did not do correctly or that they didn't take the time to work on. That kind of gets to me pretty hard.
Yeah, I agree with you. I can't stand it when they come during the grading periods only the week before and say, oh, what can I do to reassess? I'm like, nothing. Yeah. I'll straight out tell you. I say, for this report card, nothing at all. But you're supposed to let me reassess. I go, yes, I am, but I'm not letting you reassess for this report card. You need to show me that you've done something to demonstrate, that this means something to you and that you really want to work at it. If you come to me, if this assessment was week 1 and you come to me week 9 and week 10 is when the report cards go out, you have an issue. It's not going to be on this report card. But why, Mr. This and that, blah, blah, blah. I go, you took 9 weeks to come to reassess. It's going to take me 9 weeks to reassess you. Oh, that just sounds mean. But, that's kind of the reality of what it is. Ooh, Carrie thinks.
I kind of like Carrie. I like her perspective here about how their progress is going to be a lot better from grade card to grade card. And so that their parents can really see that they've tried the second term or the second grading period, whatever it might be. That's a good idea to tell the kids too. Yep.
I kind of wish you did.
So I'm wondering how do we just continue all year long getting our kids to take a risk, because we've talked about it, how we're going to introduce it. We've talked a few strategies about how we're going to do it in the classroom. How do we keep ourselves motivated to keep giving our kids risks and remember to give them risk, if not every lesson, but most lessons? I know giving differentiation's not a problem, and maybe that's where it comes in. Maybe we just need to have something in store for all levels that are slightly above where they're at. Maybe that's the easiest way. What do you guys think?
Can you repeat that? We got meltdown in the household going on, so I'm kind of half listening to you and half listening to what's going on.
So we've talked a little bit about what risk is and what failure is and how many chances we've given everybody to get back their grade because they might be afraid to take chances if they think it's only going to be a one-shot deal. So how do we remind ourselves? How do we keep it at the front of our memory to keep giving the risk to students? And then I mentioned maybe it's through differentiation, because I know we're all probably pretty good at that. We have our different level kids and we have things prepared for them. Is that how we're going to do this throughout the years. It just basically through differentiation and we know we have an advanced group. Do we have something prepared for them that might be a little bit above where they're at, and do that for all of our groups?
Yeah, I think for me, how I'm gonna try to continue to do that is to plan for extra things for students to do. I want to challenge that top 10% that's consistently probably at the higher end and can probably pass the assessments day one. And I also want to try to challenge those bottom kids that really just don't want to be motivated. But I think that you have to approach them on two different levels and what you're going for. Going back, I know for some reason I keep talking about tinkling and these things. The first year I went to that digital version of the lesson, I think I had 8 things that I figured out. Last year I added like 6 or 7 more. Hopefully I'll find a few more next year. And then I'm going to keep building. And at some point, it's just going to be so ridiculous for students. They're never going to get through everything. And so I'm going to be able to challenge the kids that have been in doing those kind of things already and have proficient level, and they could probably take the assessment day one. They're going to still have to learn and try new things and challenge themselves.
Yeah, Carrie had said it. I was waiting for you to finish so I could say it, but she said it first. It's all in the planning. You have to plan all that risk in to everything that you're doing. You have to think about your bottom, what is it that they're capable of? What things are they going to be struggling with? Then you have to think about your top. You already know, like you said, Matt, they're going to fly through a lot of the things, and so you have to have things on there that maybe at a level that not even we as the teacher can perform. But it's about challenging them. It's not about converting them into teachers and things like that, because that's not going to challenge them. It's about challenging them and make sure that they grow as an individual as well. And then we can't forget the middle, because typically when we plan, most people plan for the bottom, they plan for the top, and they forget about the middle. And so we need to make sure that we're planning for every level, and as best we can for every contingency that we think may show up. I have a lot of ELF at my school. I have I think the entire school is something like 15% ELF of varying levels. Some of them don't speak a lick of English. I also have about 12% SPED at my school. And at our school, we lump them all together. So if I have a SPED class, it's like 10 to 12 of them all in one class. And so those are the classes that I know myself I struggle with most, because even within the SPED class, they're all varying levels of understanding. Some of them are auditory, some of them visual, some of them kinesthetic. And so I have to plan all of that into the lesson and make sure that whatever is challenging for one student is attainable for another student, and vice versa. I can't have it just, like you said, Matt, I can't have it where I can create as much as I want, but as I create, I only can create so much in the time that I have, and so you teaching tinkling and adding 6 new things this year, that's 6 more things than you had last year. And let's say this year you add another 6, that's going to be, you're constantly growing what you're doing. And any teacher who's worth their salt is going to be constantly looking back at what they did before and trying to push the envelope a little further. And I think everyone in this room right now, including people who can't get into the room, are like that. We're constantly pushing our practice and making sure that our skills and what we're trying to teach the students are constantly going to push them and force them to take risks at failing and succeeding. Well, what'd she say?
I think one thing that we can do for our higher level students is if they've accomplished everything they're supposed to accomplish, maybe we could make them coaches and put them in charge of a small group of a lower level set of students. And I'm sure if they're advanced, they've probably done it outside of school, or they've been on teams inside of school. So that might be an option, making them a coach and saying, okay, take these 2 over and work on the bounce pass or whatever it might be that they're struggling with. What do you think?
I think it's good to do occasionally. I'm not sure you want to do it all the time because they're going to shut down and not want to do it all the time. And I think we need to still challenge to get them to increase their skill levels as well.
Yeah, a part of skill level too could maybe be tactical skills or strategic skills, teaching them beyond just the layup or the bounce pass or whatever it might be, but how to run an offense or to create a new type of defense or something like that, or a transition play, an out of bounds play, depending on what sport you're talking about.
You know, I think on Voxer I talked with in the standard-based instruction group, and that topic comes up a lot. Like, what do you do with the top level people? You know, the super athletes, or what, you know, top 10%, whatever you want to label them. And I'm okay, like Matt said, with getting them to teach the lower people, but again, that doesn't push their growth. It doesn't get them to become better at their own craft. And I can't recall the specific standard, and I don't remember if it was national or state for California. But I recall there's some sort of a standard where it talks about having the student track their own, I guess, improvement or what have you with a particular skill. And so even if you have a top athlete who's, let's say their layup is amazing in basketball, their swim stroke is amazing in swim class, their penalty kicks are amazing, you know, whatever it is, there's still room for growth, you know. It was brought up a moment ago that Kobe, top of his game, you might not like him as an individual, but as a guy who's, in terms of work ethic and how hard he pushes himself, he knows he's a good player. We already know this. You know, you can see it the way he plays. He knows he's a good player, but he's a good player because he pushes himself, not because he goes to the bench and say, "Hey, I'm going to be teaching you today." You know, it's like, "Oh, hey, you need to give you these quick little tidbits, and then I'm going to go back to doing my thing." You know, because I need to get better as well. And so, like Matt said, if you constantly just have them teaching the lower people, well, yeah, your class as a whole may come up, but it's not because the class is going up, but because your bottom is, you know, your standard deviation shrinks. And so, for me personally, I don't like taking my high-end student and forcing them to teach the low-end students when it's their time to learn as well. So if I want to do something like that, I would usually create heterogeneous groups and force them to do it that way, where it's now becomes a group thing, and it's not just me signaling out the top student, you need to work with this bottom student over here because I don't have time to do it. And so it's about leveling it out for them. So my top students, my top middle students, you guys are going to go do totally different activities. My bottom students, you're going to come with me because I'm the teacher. I'm going to be working with you on that particular skill. It may not be fun for me, but that's what my job is. That's what I'm paid to do. So,
right. Well, guys, I want to thank you all for coming on again this week. And hopefully we talked about getting together about every 2 weeks or so. So hopefully we can get together again in 2 weeks. And if you all have suggestions for topics, just let me know. And maybe next time Carrie can get on again like she did a few weeks ago when we did it the last time. And we'll just have another great chat. I think the first two are really, really good. Thanks, guys.
Thank you.
See ya. Good night, everybody.
Good night.
Bye, Carrie. We missed you.
Bye.